The following episode is brought to you by Cineo Lighting, the highest quality LED lighting systems available for motion picture, television, and photography industries. Find out more at cineolighting.com. You're listening to Filmmakers Drinking Bourbon. Hey, what's up, World Wide Web? It's Brandon.
And it's Alex.
And we're filmmakers.
And we're also drinking bourbon.
We are. Cheers, buddy. Today's a nice little blend.
Yeah. So, we're doing this midday today, so...
You know what that sound is? You know what that sound right there is?
What? Delicious?
You don't do that with a bourbon glass.
That's with a coffee mug.
Yeah. That's a hot
That's what
coffee.
I'm saying. It's midday, so we need a little caffeine with our bourbon.
Yeah, and I mixed up a little NZ coffee.
There you go.
The way the New Zealanders drink it, they drink their coffee with a little bit of bourbon.
Yeah,
according to Rolo over in Webster. It's called an NZ coffee.
Always,
it's
all
amazing.
Day long.
So we got we got a lot of bourbon here at the show, and so sometimes after we feature a bourbon, the liquor cabinet is full with half bottles of bourbon,
or like
quarter bottles,
eighth bottles, tiny.
The drippings sometimes, and we don't waste it.
No.
So sometimes we'll take multiple bottles and concoct it into some sort of a mix.
Like a 3 bourbon, old fashioned.
Yeah. So
whatever.
Right now we're doing an NZ coffee, and I'm not gonna lie, there's multiple bourbons in here.
There you go.
And they're all FDB approved.
Nice.
Lovely. So,
nice. Well,
how you been, buddy?
Been good. Been great. Been busy. We got some projects coming up that we've been scouting.
I'm actually casting right now.
You're taking a break.
Yeah, I had a casting from 9 to 11. I grabbed lunch. I came down here to the studio. We're going to knock this out, and then I go back at like 2 to do the second half.
Perfect.
So it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Cool, man.
So
yeah, it's a busy time in our lives. It's good time.
It is. And so this has been an exciting month brought to you by Cineo Lighting.
Yeah, they're giving away...
How fun is that?
We mispronounced it last time.
Yeah.
What's it called again?
It's the Matchbox Kit Light, which is actually much bigger, and it's more expensive, and it's really nice, and it's...
Not Matchstick. Matchbox.
The Matchstick is like a smaller...
Yeah, it's Matchbox.
Longer thing.
It's like multiple matchsticks.
Yeah, and so we've already had some great participation, a lot of people entering. You got all month to enter.
It's a $500 light. Yeah. Why would you not want
It's really nice. So,
perfect.
Alex, explain the light a little bit. What kind of lighting is it? What do you think it's going to be good to use for?
It's going to be great for your on-camera lighting, your, sticking up in the corner, mounting in cars. It's perfect.
It's probably also a good light. Sometimes you're on set and there's that little thing in the background that
what you would call a pinger. You want to get a little pinger on
I
it.
call it a pinger.
Or zinger.
Yeah. A zinger. And you say, hey, man, throw a little pinger pang on that thing in the back.
Zing zang, yeah.
Just to bring it to life. And this is that type of light. It's really cool. It's like $500.
It's great.
Our friends from Cineo are going to give it away for free. All you have to do is shout out to us on Twitter, and you want to holler at Cineo Lighting.
Yes, that's them.
And at FDB Podcast.
That's us.
And then hashtag FDB Giveaway.
That's the thing.
If you do that, you'll be entered to win for the drawing. A lot of fun. We're really excited. And this whole month, we're talking with people from all over. We're highlighting production
cities. Yeah, last week was Chicago. I'm sorry, New York.
It wasn't Chicago.
It was. It was supposed to be. Last week was New York. We had
Angus Oborn was on the show.
Great
He's
DP, stills photographer, all around great guy.
That was a fun show.
Australian.
Yeah.
Cool. This week, we got a special guest.
You know what we're doing?
Huh.
A lot of people refer to this as the East Coast versus the West Coast.
Yeah, coastal rivalry.
And we're gonna go head to head. We've got a special guest from L.A. via Cincinnati.
I know, our good buddy
Alex Parks. Producer extraordinaire.
Great guy. All right, dial him up.
Let's dial him up.
It's like a hip hop modem.
Alex, you there?
Oh, man, that was the best sound effect ever.
What up?
What's up, man?
How's it going?
We miss you, buddy.
Hey, I'm sorry that I'm not in the room with you, but I will be your fill-in guest anythime.
Oh, you just woke up, didn't you?
Yeah.
It's like early out there.
It's morning.
Well, I'm like Donald Trump. I get up, I call the morning shows with like today's news. This is
Alex Trump here.
Have you poured yourself a New Zealand coffee?
Yes. Just minus the Zealand or whatever.
Nice. Nice.
Even when it's not morning, I just can't do the whiskey coffee. I don't know why.
Yeah. Well, I'm doing it for you, buddy.
Upper and downer.
Fantastic.
So just to give a little context around here, Alex Parks is a producer, sort of all around get it done guy. Was working out of Cincinnati, and me and Alex Elkins had worked with him on several projects. Had a lot of fun. But recently, probably in the past, 6 months, he decided he's going to leave us. And he's going to head for the big time, and you made your way out to L.A. So tell us a little bit about that journey. Why did you decide to leave the production world of the Midwest? And you had a lot of clients here. You were doing some really cool projects. Why did you decide to make the jump? And let's hear a little bit about the journey.
Yeah, sure. Well, I won't. I loved your episode with Sarah talking about what a producer does. It was super thorough, and I second everything she said. So I won't necessarily get into that end of it. But I think just in terms of the market in Cincinnati, it's really tough to find work as a freelance producer. And I was able to make a living and did it for about a year and a half after leaving a full-time job, just by sort of diversifying. I did a little consulting, I did a little agency producing, I did a little, freelance producing for guys like you. And that was great and all, but you're just constantly doing something completely different. And I liked aspects of each of those things, but it was never, I think like a lot of people, I'm someone who just grew up loving film and television and not really knowing what path that would take me down. And I sort of stumbled onto the commercial route because there's some great people and great crews in Cincinnati. But a few years in, it was like, this isn't what I ultimately wanted to be doing. It's not the kind of content I wanted to be producing. And so that, this sort of narrows the list down to either New York or LA, unless you're someone financing your own projects. And so LA was the natural choice because there's no winter here.
Nice. So what exactly are the types of projects you want to do? What do you mean by that?
More narrative? What do you want to do? What are you chasing?
So and you guys talked a lot about the sort of Cincinnati market on that Sarah episode, but Cincinnati's a lot of commercial work, a lot of brand work, a decent, as you guys know, a decent amount of work that you'll shoot that never gets seen because it's always internal or it's test or it's whatever. I was always interested in original content, and that's a pretty broad term, but I feel like it's getting broader every day because you've got web content that's just as high quality as a lot of the content that's on TV or even in indie films these days. So I purposefully answer it that broadly because I do think I'm more interested in working with talented people than I am in what the medium is, I guess. And so so it's been great to be out here and just try to be social, which I'm not necessarily naturally good at, but I think people that make that kind of stuff that I enjoy,
That's cool. And I think that's a great adjective, original content, because that's the buzzword, man. Every Amazon originals, Netflix originals, HBO original, everybody is fighting in the marketplace with that very word because it's saying, hey, we are creating interesting content. So I like how you're positioning yourself. That's cool.
The word original is no longer original now, though.
Yeah, it's no longer original.
But it is such a broad tent, and it's restructuring the way that kind of stuff gets made. And so you've got a lot of smaller shops, looking to sign overall deals with networks and content providers because they just want to be a company that churns out a bunch of stuff. And so it's been interesting to see, to see it as a viewer from the outside and watch as, you're watching Netflix shows and Amazon shows and whatever. But then to actually be out here and see how it's sort of restructured the way people actually do business has been pretty fun to watch.
So let's talk about that journey. So you go out there, you have this idea of kind of what you're looking for. I mean, did you start from a blank slate? How did you know who to call? What was your strategy? I mean, other listeners might be in that same position you were where they're saying, you know what, this is what I really want to do. I've always thought about going to LA. I think I'm going to make the jump. Help them understand the climate and what you should be thinking about if you make that move.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I should caveat all of this by saying and explaining maybe a little bit of my second life, which is producing for live content, because, I think a lot of people, when they make a big move like this, they're probably either doing it when they're super young, and so they're just sort of throwing caution to the wind and starting from scratch. It feels a little weird to be doing it at my age or at my stage in my career, but I've been able to do it because I have produced a lot of stuff in the live content space, which is something that I can really do from anywhere. And so it's been nice to have a bit of a lifeline and a bit of a, I'm still connected to a lot of the people that I've worked with for years, and are really talented. And it doesn't feel necessarily like I've started from scratch the way that it might feel for some other people who are, doing it at a different phase in their life. So I always like to caveat that, so it doesn't seem like I'm just, Mary Tyler Moore throwing my hat into the wind, because it has made it a lot easier. But so I certainly knew a lot of people just from even working production in Cincinnati. You meet a lot of out of town crews, you meet a lot of clients that are out of town. And so there's, even if it's just people I've barely know, you just sort of reach out and try to set up a little meeting and let them know who you are and what you're doing and all that good stuff. And just a lot of sort of hustling on that social level and trying to get people to, help you connect dots wherever they can. And I would say it's probably a little bit of folks from school. I went to school for sort of general media, and so there's a lot of folks that left for LA as soon as school was over, and they've provided a lot of connections and friends of friends and those kinds of things. So there is a bit of, like I said, I'm not a naturally social person. So there has had to be a little bit of like, sucking it up and, being willing to meet people that maybe you only met once 5 years ago, or friends of friends that you just happen to share things in common. And so you get, set up on a friend date. A lot of that kind of stuff has actually led to just friendships and work that has been really fun.
No doubt. Yeah, it's a small world, and there's a lot of crossovers. That's a nice, good way to start.
Yeah, you forget that it's, everyone has been in this position or is in this position at some level.
Yeah.
So were you making cold calls at all? Were you knocking on doors? Were you like, hey, I'm Alex, I'm in town, I'm a producer? Were you answering stuff on Production Hub, or?
I have yet to answer anything looking for people like me. I think what my strategy has been sort of 50-50, trying to find connections, like I said, through people I know, and then half reaching out just as a freelance producer, because that's what I was doing even before I left Cincinnati. But reaching out to people that are maybe more in line with the kind of work that I do, or have done in the past. So, reaching out to people that do that commercial and brand type work that, again, I don't want to do in the long run, but at least trying to sort of build my network out here of people that do that kind of work. And so even there, it's like, it might feel like cold calling at first, and then you meet a producer there and they go, oh, you worked on this job at such and such, and you forget how small the world is. And I feel like even the people that I sort of felt like I was cold calling, we eventually found some kind of connection or something we had in common. So even the cold calling doesn't quite feel like that. And I think that's just a virtue of having done it for at least a few years. I'm not totally starting from scratch. But yeah, it feels like cold calling, probably more than it actually is.
Huh. Nice.
That's cool. That's a lot of the same sentiments you're sharing is kind of what Angus shared about, when he first got to New York, is that, and I think it is true about our production community, is we are kind of a tight-knit group. We're kind of a tribe who sticks together, and once you know one person, that opens a door to a bunch of other people. And
exactly.
Would you say that the most important thing is to be who you say you are and say and do the things that you mean? You know what I mean? Like, sort of have that integrity of, if you say you're going to come to a meeting, show up. If you have said have produced this type of event, you should be able to show that on your reel. So is integrity of like who you are and what you've done an important part of being able to like gain respect?
Absolutely. I mean, you're out there, kind of pitching yourself, your brand, the brand that is you. And if you're not, and this is like the most cheesy, you can tell I come from the agency world. It's like, if it's inauthentic, it's obvious. You're gonna, people can smell it a mile away. So, and it's also gonna bite you in the ass in the long run if you're, trying to oversell yourself, or, you're over promising on things that you can't deliver on. So and again, I think it's probably took a few years to maybe learn some hard lessons before you realize, like, hey, it's okay to go into a meeting and, maybe you're not right for it. It's okay to say that. Someone's going to respect that a lot more in the long run for you to be able to communicate that. So yeah, I think there is a certain level of like, knowing who you are and what your skill set is, and being willing to be super upfront with people about that.
That's nice.
Cool. That's
very
awesome.
cool. Hey, so something that Angus talked about, between coming from a smaller market, he was in Australia, moved to New York. You're from Cincinnati, moved to LA. What are some of the differences in like the actual production? He was talking about riding subways and getting Ubers with gear, and what are you dealing with?
Yeah, well, it's a good question, because I'm not, one of the things that I liked about moving to a bigger market is, I've always done a little bit of everything in production, simply because that's what you do in a smaller market. And I'm happy to do that whenever I have to, but it's been great to be able to find my niche a little bit more and to actually stick to that niche. So my sort of bread and butter, I guess, has always been more of the post-producing side of things. And even if there's production involved, I guess being in more of an EP role where we're outsourcing production or, engaging other people to handle some of the logistics. So what's been great for me is that I don't necessarily have to get as involved in nitty-gritty production stuff the way that I might have had to before.
Your cushy post suite.
Yeah, exactly. I get to, it's my favorite part, just telling everyone else what to do and taking that out. But it has been fun that there's, when you're out here, even smaller budgets out here support project management in a way that they just don't in a smaller market. So I've been able to I guess lean in a little bit more to what I think my skill set is, which is a little bit more on the people management side and on the technical side of post management. And so I don't know that I've necessarily had like this is crazy different. I hear stories from friends of mine that are more on the production side, ADs and PAs and people that are just dealing with, the insane hours and all of the union restrictions and logistics, all of that good stuff.
Nice.
And it makes me happier than ever that I don't have to do that.
Yeah.
Now, talk a little bit about on the post side, as a post producer, let's dig into your niche a little bit to let people kind of know the difference. That's one of the things that Sarah on the producer show didn't really dig into too much. At what point, how does one, I guess, specialize in that realm? You're managing sort of these workflows between the producers and the clients and the editors, and are you dealing with like the rights usage of, say, historic stock footage and stuff like that, or are you like, talk a little bit more about how a post producer really plays out?
Yeah, I think at least on the level that I've done it, and obviously the moral of both of these episodes is it's a super nebulous term to say producer, but at least from my end, it's the management of people and projects that are only post related. So to your question about some of the specifics, like I haven't had to get into, licensing and things like that are usually handled by the agency. Usually I'm working in a situation where we're creating everything from scratch. And so whether it's a standalone piece or you're just delivering post for a bigger piece of content or something, I'm the producer who handles the people, the workflow, the timing, the calendars, all of the logistics of the post-production. And so whether that's editorial, and that has its own, there's a whole world of people that pretty much just do editorial. There's a whole world of people that do VFX and animation type work. And I've sort of bounced around across a few of them. And a lot of that's just because of my background. But in producing stuff for live content, that's happened a lot as well. You find yourself, it's a live show, and then you sort of dive in and figure out what the content is, and then you reach out and figure out how to produce that. So sometimes it's post-production, sometimes it's there's some live action involved, sometimes it's a combination of both. And that's where I guess I would, in a situation like that, fall more into the EP side of things. But there's a lot less, I guess in some of your questions, it's like there's a lot less forward-facing or client-facing stuff that I have to deal with, and a lot more sort of backside management of expectations and timelines and things like that.
Do you find yourself really leaning on your book of relationships for colorists and motion designers and stuff like that to really?
Absolutely.
So talk a little bit about the importance of that. Like, what do you do to maintain those relationships, and how do you make sure that those things are, feeling good, so that, when you call somebody, you got that good connection and you kind of understand each other, you have that chemistry?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question, and it's not, I probably constantly feel like I am, not like I'm always meeting new people. Like I'm always starting that relationship from scratch, because you can meet people and you can have, nice conversations, but you're not really going to know how it is to work with someone until you actually do it. A lot of that stuff just comes from, bringing a new designer or a new animator onto a team just to sort of test them out with a bunch of people that you've hopefully worked with before and are comfortable with. So a lot of that relationship management is really just being willing to take a chance on people based on a few things and then see how they work out. More and more, I find myself relying on new people. Like I definitely have my go-tos that I like for a lot of the logistical stuff. So whether it's like animating things or like edit assists in a lot of the support roles. But when you're talking about creative roles, editor, designer, people that are really going to bring something to the project, there's a short list of people that I stay in contact with and that we'll use regularly. But I actually really like meeting new people and just spending an afternoon on Behance and trying to find like 5 new people with 5 completely different styles that I can just sort of hit up, see how often they're available, see what kind of work they do. And again, it's the whole world is freelancers in my world, and so it's really easy to hit people up and just strike up a conversation, because I think everyone sort of understands that that's how it works, that you have to sort of start somewhere before you can really dive in and have a good working relationship with somebody.
No doubt. Yeah. So how do you go about finding new people, and what do you look for in, a new post role, basically?
Yeah, I think it varies a little bit depending on the role, but certainly just like hitting things up on Vimeo for editorial and more director DP types is a great source. Just checking out staff picks channels that are geared towards whatever you're looking for, and Behance for a lot of the designer, animator, illustrator type roles, because it's your clients are certainly always going to look for something, and their criteria are always different. Some people are just looking for name brands that these people have worked on. Some people are more concerned about the style, like maybe they haven't done things for huge brands, but they have this particular style. I've certainly worked on a lot of jobs where by the time I come onto the job, the design or the creative has been developed to the point that it's pretty well defined, and it's a style that exists out there. And so it's a matter of just going out and finding people who do that type of style, and then narrowing it down from there based on who's available and cost and all those logistical things. So I've just sort of built into my life now that I need to spend a certain amount of time a week just sort of looking for new people. Sure. And looking for new talent.
That's cool, man. So it sounds to me like, from your point of view, and if I'm an editor or a colorist, let's say I'm wanting to make the move to LA, or regardless, I'm just existing online. We're a global culture now. It sounds to me like you're really looking for up-to-date, fresh reels and content showing off the different abilities, styles that you can do, versus like a strong resume, right? Is that?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Okay.
I don't think I've ever asked for someone's resume. I don't think anyone's ever asked for my resume in all of these years. And it is great that we have all of these platforms. And again, I'm gonna just fall back on my agency speak and say that it's so much. Your online presence is your storefront. It's your brand. It's the thing that people are seeing. And so yeah, it's like I said, it's in lots of cases, I'm not necessarily as concerned with who you've worked for, as long as your portfolio could be half spec stuff, and as long as it's a style that I'm looking for and I can see that you can execute something, it's super obvious, and it'll be really easy to say, hey, let's take a chance on this person, even if maybe they don't have as much experience or the exact type of experience that we think we're looking for. And I think a lot of that, it's a little bit harder to do on the commercial side, which is another reason why I always sort of shied away from that, just because you have so many different layers of people on the client and agency side that have their own sets of prejudices and expectations about what makes someone good or what makes someone good.
We've worked on a couple of those together, haven't we?
Exactly. But in the sort of live content world that I've worked in, particularly when you're like creating video content for musicians and stuff, it's great because they just want something that's cool, and they'll go online, or maybe they already have and found whatever they think is cool and whatever they want for their show. And it can be frustrating because then sometimes maybe you are working with people that are inexperienced, but it's I just feel like it's such a more freeing way to work and makes for so many more interesting interactions with people.
That's cool.
Nice. Speaking of people, there's people coming from the Midwest and the production areas out here. We kind of have this view of New York, LA, Chicago, these bigger markets. Glamorous, these kind of
Hollywood
super
stars,
experienced crew members.
Lots of money.
Some egos. How are the people out in LA? What have you come across in the crew realm and the producer realm?
Is
clients?
It that glamorous?
Yeah.
Let me tell you, I will never forget, as I'm sure you guys feel the same way, some of the out-of-town crews that come to a market like Cincinnati and just assume that we're all bumpkins. And blame all of their problems on us lowly crew members. So I totally know the sentiment. And I mean, this is maybe more a comment on just sort of the city in general, but like certainly versus New York, it's such a friendly town to be in and just such a, usually it's fake. I mean, usually you're here, but I prefer that than, going to New York and getting yelled at and then breaking ice and figuring out that you get along. But yeah, no, I think in general, it's people are very friendly, and certainly on a producer level, I've just met a lot of great people that I haven't necessarily worked with yet, but just created, some great friendships with producers because so many people on my level are like, oh, you're a producer too. I never meet producers because I'm always the producer. And so what do you do and how do you do it? And we have a lot of the same conversations that we're having now. So overall, even if it is fake, it's pleasant and I'll take it.
That's always good.
I love your honesty. That's great. So that's good. Cause I think that's a lot of people, again, especially if you're a young filmmaker, you get this idea in your head of like what it's going to be to do this sort of thing. Now in Cincinnati, somebody who has the dream to be a filmmaker in Cincinnati market, you're really going to end up mainly pushing a lot of commercial work because we have, Procter & Gamble's here. We've got a lot of that type of work. You're going to be doing branded content work, that sort of stuff. When people think of LA, they think of movies, the big time.
Yep.
Silver screen. Is that a pipe dream for a young filmmaker? Like only the 1%ers who are related to the Coppolas actually get to do that, or are there real opportunities for people to go out there and make it happen?
Well, I certainly am. It's probably a little bit out of my depth to totally answer that question, but I can just give you my impression, which is, it very much depends on what you want to do. I've met lots of creative people that are maybe DPs or people that, would like to be on a path where eventually they're shooting great features or shooting even, interesting TV shows. And it's tough for them because they exist in this world that was sort of built for old Hollywood and has, for all the good that they do, there's tons of union restrictions and things that make it really difficult to sort of break in. But you also have tons of people out here. Obviously, this is Mecca for management and studios and production houses that are far more concerned with something that's going to sell than they are with where you come from and what your background is. And so I still think it's true that wherever you are, if you're making good things and you're sharing them with the world, it doesn't really matter where you're from now more than ever. I think maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it's changed why people come to a place like LA. It definitely doesn't feel necessary for tons of people the way that it, sort of did when we were growing up and thinking that that's just what you had to do if you wanted to go work in this industry. But I also think if you're someone like me, who's maybe not, I sort of gave up a while ago on trying to be a filmmaker myself because I'm much more interested in the collaborative process. I'm not someone who, comes up with ideas that I can execute myself. I've tried and failed too many times and that's fine because, you learn that you're much more comfortable in a certain role. And so for me to find more work in this role, that was a natural fit just to go to a bigger market and try to, connect with other people. But I think it just depends on who you are. And if you're someone who is really creative and wants to, be a filmmaker, write something, whatever it is, doing it and getting it produced at any level feels so much more possible anywhere. And it feels so much more possible to actually have that lead to something instead of, just sort of creating it in a vacuum and never getting noticed.
Nice, absolutely.
Man, you're so positive today, man. You woke up on the happy side of the bed.
Yeah.
It's that weather out there.
Well, speaking,
it is, you know.
So I was say, speaking of getting things done and produced, what is next for you? What do you got in the pipeline? Man. What are you working on?
What are you excited about?
Yeah. So I've been doing, like I said, I've been doing a lot of the live content work. So that stuff has been, it's been really fun. I don't think 6 or 9 months ago I would have been happy to keep doing it, but I wasn't necessarily pursuing it. And because it's something I can sort of do from anywhere, I've been doing a lot more of it. And I also really like it because, like I said, it's a much different relationship than when you're working with an agency, or even just in general working on something that's commercial and has more of a profit motivated end goal. So I've been doing actually a lot more of that kind of work. There's a company called Empirical that I've been doing a lot of work for that does really fun things. And
is there any examples of this? I mean, you can speak. And part of Alex is being, he's definitely being humble right now. He definitely has produced some stuff for major faces that are on the front of iTunes. If we said who they were, if we were allowed to or whatever, you would know them. So he's definitely been grinding on a high level. So it's not just you're not just out there making music videos for unknown artists or content. These people have worldwide tours that Alex helps to bring together. So that's been really cool.
That's something that I'm happy that I can actually talk about it, because those are things, in the commercial world, so many times, I don't know why are commercial people so concerned with commercial people stealing their ideas?
And they all have code names, right? Like, this project is code name what? Like, it's so weird.
You just want to go, no one cares.
Yeah, no one cares about whatever your product is.
Yeah, so certainly at my old company, I worked on content for a lot of great names. We did stuff for Kanye and Katy Perry and Taylor Swift, and the new company that I've worked for as a freelancer a bit more. I mean, they sent me to CERN in Europe to shoot some stuff for U2 with this great time-lapse photographer.
Didn't you get to go to the Atom Smasher?
Yeah, it's CERN is like their equivalent of NASA, but instead of going to space, they're colliding atoms and
Large Hadron Collider. Yeah.
It was insane. Yeah,
that's awesome.
So when you get to do things like that and meet people like that photographer and those scientists and those, it's just a job that's taken me to so many crazy places and things.
You mentioned Taylor and Kanye. You were the reason for the beef between them two, right? The tiff.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. It was. It was all me. Yeah.
No, that's the cool thing about this job, though, is we get to do so many different things. Like you could do a movie about science or a show about music or whatever, and learn a little bit about something new every time. It's cool.
That's cool. So aside from the concert stuff, what kind of stuff have you dabbled into, or what do you?
Well, so that's what is taking up the bulk of my time, and then that's where I get to use my free time to just reach out to more of the types of people that are doing the kind of content that I want to be doing. And I think, to your guys' questions about like what's it like out here, how is this different? I think it's been really interesting to see how certain people can and certain people cannot wrap their heads around the fact that if you can produce for one thing, you can probably produce for another type of thing. There might not be a one-for-one exchange. There's certainly going to be a bit of a learning curve, but it's so hard for people to wrap their heads around the fact sometimes that I'm producing things that are, have large budgets and have high stakes and all of those things. Someone in the TV world is just not really going to be able to wrap their heads around or care my background, because it's not, there's not networks and there's not name brand producers and directors on my resume, so to speak. So, I've,
as it's been said, if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
That's right. And I love the way that Sarah put it on that last episode, where she was like, it's not. And I've heard so many producers say this, and I'm sure it sounds so rude to people that don't feel this way, but it's like, it's not rocket science, and it's a very measurable list of things that's your job to sort of look out for as a producer, and that's the skill set that you need. It doesn't really matter what the format is or what the deliverable is. It's a project management set of skills that feels like you can apply it to a whole range of stuff. So to your question, there's a fun little thing for Adult Swim that I've been working on, and a great small production company that I hooked up with out here. That's the level of things that I'd like to be doing. Again, just meeting new talent that's doing sort of interesting off kilter things. So that's what I'm spending most of my free time doing when I'm not working, is trying to sort of branch out and meet the more of those types of people that are producing that type of content. There's a lot of, obviously there's a lot more comedy clubs and things like Channel 101 that, just produce content regularly on a lower level, but with the intent of taking it really seriously and trying to learn and grow and meet new people. So it's a lot easier. I'm trying to find all those ins as much as possible. And I've met some great people, but so far I'm still on the upswing of transitioning from what I've been doing to what I want to be doing.
Cool.
It's awesome, man.
Just growing and grinding. I like it.
I like it. So I assume you don't have too much free time because you're hustling or whatnot, but you got to be able to find in time to throw in a couple shows or a couple films. What have you been watching?
Oh my God, it's all I do all day long. I can't just email. I have that. I've been loving Baskets. Have you guys watched Baskets on FXX?
No.
What is Baskets?
Louis C.K., Zach Galifianakis, and Crizel's show. It's just fantastic. It's I think I've heard them describe it as a slapstick tragedy.
Nice.
It's not a straight up comedy. It's it's worth checking out and watching blindly if you haven't seen it.
So it's Louis' style, basically, right?
Actually, it feels more. He's more of an EP on it, so it feels more like Zach's style combined with Jonathan Crizel, who's he's the EP on Portlandia and has directed a bunch of great stuff. Started on like Adult Swim things, and
cool.
It's just a really great. It evolves in such a great way. It's one of those great shows where you can really see the intentionality behind it and see that they, aren't producing it episode to episode. They really thought through the whole season and developed it as a one whole piece.
Yeah. Would that be considered original content?
Yes, it would.
FX original.
You know what I love about this show is we get to talk to so many cool people, and it's fun to hear. Like, there's just so many shows to like know everything, and so it's nice.
Impossible.
That's why we love asking this question, because we discover these little gems, and so we're stoked to hear this one. So check out Baskets on FXS.
Check out Baskets. Check out Mr. You guys watch Mr. Robot?
Oh my gosh, I watched the pilot episode. I've yet to keep going, but I'm dying to. It's so beautiful.
So good, yeah, so damn good.
The cinematography is unbelievable.
Yeah, I saw the trailer and that got me wanting to, but there's so many other shows that I can't.
You know that Mr. Robot is also like King Tut in the Night of the Museum movies.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
he's also in The Master.
King Tutankhamun or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, he's in Short Term 12, which you guys should check out. He's got a smaller role in that, but I don't know what made me think of that, but that's a great
Somebody
one.
here recommended that movie recently.
That's awesome.
Anyway, cool, dude.
Cool,
well,
what about
what?
Yeah, anything from like the techie gear side, industry news side of things that you're excited about or you're kind of like hyped about?
Oh man, nothing necessarily gear wise. I feel like I've, in my past life when I did more production, I sort of was like our ad hoc red tech at this production company I was at. I was like following this stuff a lot more. I'm loving the Filmmakers blog just because it's a nice curated place for a lot of stories like that. I don't know if you guys have been following that at all.
No,
let's check that out.
It's a little more for people that are maybe overloaded by the gear blogs and the breaking news blogs, and a little bit more focused on process and things like that. So that's fairly new, and I've been reading that weekly and checking out what's new on the sort of workflow and a lot of inspiration related stuff. A lot of stuff, a lot of the same topics you guys talk about here about how do you devote time to passion projects when you're trying to hustle, and a lot of things that I think speak to this world that we all come from.
What about so we were just at NAB. What about on the post side, Adobe? Are you an Adobe guy, Final Cut guy?
Yeah, I on a personal level, I learned Final Cut 10 when it came out, and I've still yet to be asked to use it. And I've also, just from a workflow standpoint, would shy away from it just as a post producer. So I like lots of features there, but I'm definitely an Adobe guy.
Nice.
Cool.
That's
what about VR? Are you exploring producing with VR content? Is that something that you're hearing a lot of people talking about?
No, it's agency creative director's wet dreams. That's the only thing it's good for at this point. Like I'm always excited for new technology, but it's just not at a point where it's of any interest unless you're, I'm waiting for that first great, like, we need the Gone with the Wind for VR. We need something to like really convince you that this is,
I don't think it's
future.
I don't think it's gonna happen in narrative cinema.
I think it feels like a utility more.
I think it's a gimmick. I think it's a fun gimmick for trade shows and interactive and some other really cool applications.
Theme parks,
training, theme parks, maybe some mental health therapies, but. I'm a skeptic. I'm not afraid to say it. Everybody wants to jump on the bandwagon. I'm not jumping on the bandwagon. I respect it. I'm going to learn it. I'm going to probably work in it, for some different clients, but I just don't see it.
Yeah, there was like a little street festival here a couple weeks ago, and PETA was there, and they had a VR experience, see what it's like inside I think it was like a puppy mill or something. And I thought, like,
Jesus,
there's a creative idea that I want nothing to do with.
Yeah.
Like, that's great. I want nothing to do with that. And I don't understand. I totally get the utility that you can provide with it, but I don't think that translates to, I don't know. It's not, that's not going to blow my mind to see a VR experience of something like that. It's going to confirm all the terrible things I'm sure I already knew. But, like, what is the purpose other than as a utility, I guess?
No, I mean, like, NASA's doing stuff where you can kind of like explore the space station and stuff like that's cool. Places you can't go that you can now explore with VR, like that's neat.
Totally.
But kind of gimmicky again.
And it feels like it might maybe has more of a place in that sort of live world. Where you're maybe it's a part of a bigger experience, or it's a feature along with other things. It doesn't feel like something that I'm ever going to purchase my own headset, or that I'm going to go out of my way to, experience it.
Nope. We on the show have talked about how it's going to be big in porn and therapy.
Yeah.
That's about
porn and therapy.
Yeah.
And I'm always open to having my mind blown. And like I said, maybe it'll be
nice segue.
It'll be the Citizen Kane of VR, and it will totally change my mind. But but I just don't see on its own how the technology
it will definitely be the Citizen Kane of porn.
Oh lordy!
Oh man, it's so much fun, man. It's so good to hear your voice, buddy.
Thanks for having me, guys.
We'll
man.
Sit down next time you're back out here and grab some bourbon.
Yeah, buddy.
I know. Yeah. Anytime you guys need someone to just like riff on the day's news, just hit me up. I'll be here.
Perfect.
Cool, bud. All right. Well, we are going to let you get off to your world of connecting and networking and all that jazz. But
the day's just getting started.
Yeah. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for calling on the show. We're so happy that we finally got you on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks so much, guys.
All right. And just so people know how to find you, because there may be some other people, directors, people are out there listening, and they're like, hey, this guy sounds pretty cool. Where can people find you? How do they work with you?
Yeah, alexparks.tv is my sort of main hub. I produce like the most nebulous way that we've been talking about the term producer. I'm somebody who just likes meeting new people that create their own stuff, because maybe it plays into some of the live work that I do. I like people that have passion projects that they're looking to produce, whether it's a short or anything like that. So there's really no good answer to that question. I'll meet with anybody.
All right, cool. And then are you on the social medias at all? Instagram or Twitter?
Yeah, Twitter, alexparks.tv, spelled out, DOT-TV. And on Instagram with the same username, all one word, alexparks.tv.
Awesome.
Nice.
Great. And you can always connect with us at fdbpodcast.com. We'll connect you to Alex as well.
Way. Yeah.
All right, man. Have a great day. Thanks so much, bud.
All right, thanks, guys.
Peace.
All right. Cheers.
It's awesome.
Nice. Man.
Alex is a great guy.
What a guy.
Yeah, he is very good at what he does, so definitely make sure to connect with him.
So it sounds like there's the reoccurring theme that we have heard on East or West Coast is have integrity. Be
yourself.
Be yourself, and make sure don't claim you've done stuff that you haven't done.
Absolutely not.
Right.
When you start doing that, you get caught and you get in trouble.
Yeah.
And
people you can't be trusted.
Bad reputation.
You can't be trusted because someone's you said you claimed that you knew how to edit in Avid, but then you don't.
Trust is important.
You sit down and you're like, how do you do this function? And you don't know.
Trust is very important. It's easy to lose and hard to gain. So make sure you keep it.
Yes. The other thing was this idea that the world is much smaller than you would think.
Especially thanks to social media.
Yeah, and I think that's really interesting. I think in the past, it was intimidating to go to a major market, but nowadays you can kind of find Kevin Bacon, that whole 7 degrees thing. You can find somebody who knows somebody.
If you move out there and you know one person in LA, you go on their Facebook page or whatever, but you have 10 mutual friends that you never even knew.
Yeah.
And you have this network, this kind of ghost network that you can tap into. It's great.
Yeah, and I think it's fun too, like when you start playing that game, it's the loosest of connections becomes significant. Oh, I know so-and-so's brother's grandma. That's amazing.
It's just a starting
point. Have you been to the farm? Oh,
Yeah.
I've been to the farm. Great, cool.
Yeah,
Next thing you know,
starts the
you're
conversation.
buddies.
Exactly. So
I don't know where the farm is, but
everybody's got a farm. Everybody's somebody's grandma's cousin's got a farm. So anyway,
but yeah,
just
so I think
expand the network.
That's definitely cool. I'm excited about this show he was talking about. It sounds kind of fun. Baskets.
Yeah, I like Louis C.K. I know you love him. You're a huge fan.
I'm not-
Huge fan of self-deprecating humor.
He's not my fave, but I do like Zach Galifianakis.
Galifianakis?
Galifianakis, because I think he's so random.
He's
random.
so
weird.
He lost a ton of weight recently.
Yeah.
Anyway, out of there.
So,
yeah, man.
Anything
there's
new
a lot
with
of
you?
New things to check out.
Anything that you want to add or put a coda or a period on this sentence? It's been a great show.
Oh, yeah, Captain America Civil War.
Oh, my God. you didn't go see it, did you?
Oh, I loved it.
Oh, my God.
Dude, it's amazing.
Are you serious?
Absolutely.
Oh, that's just gross.
It's one of the best superhero films
Horrible.
of all time.
Wow.
And if you go to...
Is that the one where, like, Spider-Man comes in and they just basically had this giant, like...
battle in an airport. Yeah, it's great.
It's a basically comic book circle jerk.
It's fantastic. Yeah, if you go to Rotten Tomatoes, the critics give it a 90%.
Oh, I'm sure they do. Wow.
90.
Yeah.
Dude,
I'm
because
sure
it's
they
so
do.
political and deep. And
Yeah, I'm
it's
sure
a great... It really is.
So political and so deep.
Yeah. God, you're such a positive individual. Oh, man. Anyway, everybody out there, discount everything that Brandon says and go see Captain America Civil War and enjoy it. Just enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah, I'm sure
Don't
it's
think too
great.
much about it.
It's probably awesome.
But then realize that, it has you thinking deeper than you thought you'd think. So
Yeah.
it's great.
Yeah, look, for some people, it's
Yeah.
great.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For some people that like to enjoy life and be happy and not drown in their bourbon sorrows.
Superhero movies.
Anyway,
Come on.
what have you been doing?
Well, I haven't been watching superhero movies.
Yeah.
What I've been doing has been BMX biking, dude.
No, you have not.
Yeah, I have.
No.
I've got a rad bike.
You're like 7 feet tall. You can't bike.
I got BMX bike. I got a 7-year-old son, and we were just tearing it up, man. We're tearing up the neighborhood. We're loving it. And then the stuff I've been watching is me and my daughter.
How to BMX bike?
No.
Oh.
But me and my daughter have been watching. Although, if you want a good BMX,
Dave Mirra tricks.
if you want
or
a good
whatever?
BMX bike movie, you need to watch Rad. It's from like the '80s, and the main character's name is Crew, and the whole movie climaxes to when he has to race on Hell Track.
Sounds about as bad as Point Break.
Oh, it's freaking awesome. But the big thing is for him to win, he has to do this maneuver where he has to pull a backflip off the main ramp on Hell Track. And the bad guy in the movie is the same bad guy from Karate Kid 1 with the blonde hair.
Oh, God.
He's in it. It's phenomenal.
This is from the 90s?
the 80s.
80s?
It's called Rad.
Jesus.
R-A-D. Check it out. Rad. It's awesome. But
Rad is rad?
Yeah.
All
But what
right.
I have been watching, me and my daughter are finishing the Cosmos series with Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Oh, the new one? Yeah.
It's awesome. So we got like 2 shows
pretty
left. And it's fun, man. So it's been really interesting and cool. Me and her have had some great conversations, but it's
Learning.
it's blowing my mind. So it's pretty cool. So that's it, man. We've been doing that, and then obviously we're hot and heavy on the production for a commercial we're doing with University of Cincinnati. I think I can say it. I'm not
You
sure.
allowed to say that now?
I might get in trouble. I'm not sure.
Jesus. Wow.
But either way, we are doing it, and it's going to be a lot of fun. It's very story driven, and it's it doesn't really push the whole like football and stadiums and sports. It's very much about
the people.
the exploratory nature of life.
No doubt.
That
It's
was
about
vague.
as
That was
deep.
vague,
It's
right?
about as deep as Captain America: Civil War.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Really
I don't
deep.
think it'll go that deep.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest.
We're getting deep.
Civil War, Captain America, guys in tight suits, all superheroes coming together
Oh,
to
man.
battle.
Deep.
That's a little much. That's like a whole nother level of university.
Yeah. Deep. Anyway, yeah, we got some cool stuff coming up, and I'm excited.
But I think one of the things I want to reiterate is how awesome it's been to have great partners like Cineo. I've been able to have some great conversations with them offline about some of their products, and we're going to get them on the show. I think we're shooting for next week to interview with some people from their product development team to really talk about the line of stuff they offer, how it can really play to the audience of filmmakers, that what type of stuff is going to work well for them. So we're hoping to get them on the show. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be really cool.
Talk through the tech.
And then before May ends, we're going to get our interview with our last city in the production series, Chicago. And so we've got a couple guys that we know that we're trying to work to get them on the show. I won't give that away just yet, but we're going to hopefully have a good interview from Chicago. So
good rest of the month.
Yeah, so it's going to be a lot of fun. And then we have some exciting new bourbons coming. We still haven't decided how we're going to roll out that calendar, but we've got some double features, so some distilleries that have two types of bourbons that are going to do back-to-back. We've got a month takeover coming from a major bourbon brand, which is really exciting. So all that's coming up. It's and then month of June. Can we go ahead and tell them? We can tell them, right?
You can tell them whatever you want.
For the month of June, our show partner is our good friends from Whipster, and we are always excited to have them be a part of the show. And
they're giving away NZ coffee all month long.
All month long.
All you can drink.
So anyway, a lot of fun here at FDB. If you haven't had a chance, go to iTunes, FDB podcast on iTunes, or Filmmakers Drinking Bourbon. Rate and review is always great. It really helps us out to get the message out, to get the word out.
Plus, it just helps us sculpt this show to what you want to hear.
Yeah, we love to hear your feedback.
That's,
so check that out. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter. It's at FDB Podcast.
Yes,
we're always posting. We're always retweeting. It's just fun. And then lastly, don't forget, we've started a community on Slack. It's called the FDB Community. It's on Slack.
It's the one with the hashtag.
Go to our website at fdbpodcast.com. You'll see it on the banner heads.
It's on the right-hand side.
Click on that. It'll take you to a link to send a request. If we get a request from you, we'll send you an invite to this group. This is an invite-only filmmaker online community. Very cool.
Yeah.
We want to build this up to where people are engaged. They're on there. They're sharing reels. They're having real talk.
We have all sorts of different categories. Like Brandon said, we have a reels category. We have a cinematography and editing, a green room where you can just kind of make introductions. It's really great. We've already had a lot of participation. So
and it's early stages. So you guys are part of the early community, and you'll help shape what it looks like. But we really think it could be a cool place for filmmakers to really gather and connect and just cool community.
No doubt.
Awesome.
No doubt. So, anyway, very cool stuff coming up. Exciting times. Cheers.
Great show. Cheers.
This podcast was recorded live at Sound Images Studio. Find out more at soundimages.com.